Hey, it's Katie Rose here from the Wild Dicellis, and welcome to the Wild Dicellis on YouTube. Today I'm going to chat through all of our decisions on this powder room and show you around because last week I left you hanging and you definitely deserve to see the reveal. Let's chat through a little bit of the history of the house so that you can see why we did the decisions we did in this space. So this home was built in 1879. We are standing in an addition they made in the late 90s. And since we purchased it in 2022, we are trying to add the character back to the house that had been removed in the 70s from them renovating it. And so knowing this is a Victorian farmhouse, it's where we've got our inspiration for most of our design in this home. And this bathroom was definitely not going to miss out on that. So because we're working with a really small space, for reference, this is just over 5 feet by 3 feet. We needed to truly utilize every square inch and really think out everything that we used in this space. I think our sink was our biggest issue when designing this space because we needed something super narrow. And when you think narrow, you automatically go to either the IKEA small space sink, or they have some different versions of that at Home Depot. But the problem with those sinks is that they're super modern looking, and that's not something we needed for this space. We didn't need a ton of storage in here because it's just a powder room. So nobody's getting ready here in the morning. There doesn't need to be any personal items left in here. So that kind of got my wheels turning, and knowing that we collect antiques, I knew I really wanted to utilize a washstand in this space. But to find one that was narrow enough was the hard part. So I had been searching for over 6 months. We finally went on a date for our anniversary, which is right before Christmas, and we walked into an antique store, and this was standing right there in the doorway. It was meant to be. We had to sweep it up. We did originally buy a marble bowl I was going to turn into a sink for budget purposes for this sink, but both us and the marble fabricators were very nervous to drill the hole into it. So I ended up just purchasing a very affordable vessel sink from Wayfair. And then our faucet, which only just arrived and was just installed, is actually Amazon. And we wanted to make sure we carried through the brass that we have in the rest of the house for this space. And this really fit the budget. It was $70 and it came with the matching drain. And so it was a win-win situation for us. But the true thing that brought all of the character to this space is definitely the wallpaper. We worked with Sandberg Wallpaper, which is a Swedish wallpaper company, on this wallpaper, and I find it's absolutely stunning. We wanted something whimsical because we do live on an old horse farm, so we own an acre out of the 32 original acres of the farm. And so we wanted something to represent all of that woodland that we actually look out upon through the windows. And so that's kind of why we went with this. It reminds us of a wallpaper that we used in our last house that we loved so much. And we just really loved how it's going to brighten the space, and then we could do more of a darker color underneath. So the wainscot is a really beautiful muddy, warm gray. It's called Light Gray by Farrow and Ball, and it really matched the wallpaper perfectly and also added that depth that we wanted when you open the door to this space. So we're really happy with that as well. The other things that we added that were kind of last minute was the shelf. We hung an art piece the night before we were wanting to reveal this on Instagram, and it just kind of felt bland in the back. And because this is the wall you see from our dining table, our kitchen, as soon as you walk into this house with the door open, we wanted to add a little pizzazz to the back. So my husband decided to put a shelf up, and he started throwing things on the shelf, and I said, you know what? That's the answer. So we ended up painting this last minute. We had like 2 hours before the reveal, and I finally did the last coat of paint on it. And I think it really is like a nice flagship for the space because it's what you see when you first open the door. And then when it came to lighting, I wanted something that felt really homey. And this light reminds me of lights that are in my parents' house, but just an added whimsical version of it with an updated colored metal. And so I needed to have it. Again, we were doing this on a very strict budget, and this light fixture came in at like $120 from Amazon. So it was one of those things I just had to have. The mirror is something we found from an antique store just a few villages away. And I really truly believe that if you go antiquing, you will find these beautiful original pieces like the washstand, like the mirror, that will tie into your design and keep your design at a really good budget. So the last thing, which was an oopsie, which I think actually makes the space, is the flooring. So this had a linoleum floor on it when we first bought the house, and the linoleum went through into what is now our kitchen. So we ended up lucking out, and we had ordered more of the white oak than we needed. So we had this in storage for the last year and a half, ready for this project. And so we laid the white oak. We started doing the staining process like we had done throughout the rest of the home to get it to be not really yellow, because white oak can tend to yellow and this space is very sunny. Not particularly this bathroom, but the room right off of it. And for some reason, the stain didn't take evenly. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I ended up saying, you know what, I'm going to do a Harlequin pattern. I've been wanting to paint diamonds on a floor for forever. My husband said, you know what, do it. You've been asking me, just do it. The thing with this was I really wanted it to not have crisp lines. So instead of using the paint method, I actually just used a pencil and a ruler, and I drew everything out. And then I utilized my kids' dollar store paintbrushes and I painted it all by hand. And I think it really turned out beautifully, and I'm happy that I took that time to do it. It was definitely like a 5-hour process. If you know me on Instagram, you know that I love a worn floor, so I'm okay if it does wear a little bit. So yeah, that is the bathroom space. I'm really happy with how it came out. Our kids actually have told me that it looks like a 5-star hotel resort. So I'm going to take that as a compliment from my 7-year-old. And this shows you that you can make a beautiful character-filled space in just 8 days. And I want to say this took 8 days while I still had my kids home for March break and was only tackling this like part-time. I think if you added up all the hours that we actually spent working on this space, it would have been maybe 18 hours. So it's definitely something you can tackle on your own for a really, really good budget. I'm going to link everything that I can link in the description below, so head there now, or you can check it out on my blog. If you love this video, make sure you hit like and subscribe, and next week I'm going to actually share with you guys how you can turn a digital download into a faux art print that looks real. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much.